Hi, welcome to Wild Psychology. It's wild in the sense that I'm outdoors, although I have acrobatic planes going up above me and I'm quite near the River Thames. This is a bit of River Thames here that you can see behind me. I'm going to talk about 3 reasons why it's complicated or it's complex to understand mental health problems. The first one is, it just is complicated. Now, when I talk to people about mental health problems, when we have assessment sessions, etc., they are confused. They're always confused as to why they have a problem, because they're inside the problem looking out, and of course their brain is processing all of the myriad different elements which go to contribute to a problem, whereas I'm on the outside looking in, so I can sort of synthesize and get to the heart of the problem. And that's what therapists do in a sense. We see it from the outside in. So if you're looking from the inside out, it always seems really, I'm going to say, more complicated than it actually is, because you've been in it for longer and you've got many, many more elements that you're bringing together to try to understand the problem. The second reason it's complicated to understand mental health problems is that you're not taught the language of process. Sure, you go to school, you're taught history and you're taught geography, etc., but you're not taught the language of psychological process. And the language of psychological process is really important, because that's the thing that causes the problems. Now, if you're familiar with the work that I do, you'll know that I basically say that all problems are created, well, everything actually is created by running a brain program, a program in your brain which gives you the outcome that you have. And so if you run a computer program, if you run, interestingly, if you look behind me there, I believe that is a Microsoft building. So I'm near the Microsoft campus on the River Thames. If you run a Microsoft Word program, you'd expect to get a word processor come up on your screen. And brains are like that. If you run a program that says I'm frightened, or I have low self-esteem, or I'm not good enough, or it's all going to go horribly wrong, or I have to be vigilant because people are out to get me. If you run this sort of thought process, it's like running a program. And if you run a program, you get an outcome, okay? So basically that's running a process. No one ever told you at school that running brain processes gives you outcomes. If you're having outcomes that you don't want, recognize the process and stop it, change it. You don't have to run that particular brain process. It's really important because it's not simple to say, but it's profoundly true. If you're having stuff happen in your life that you don't want, it's because you're running a program that either creates it or accepts it. And the third one is this: outcomes are what we get from running processes. So when you focus on symptoms, dizziness, tight chest, headaches, pain, really almost anything, really, when you focus on symptoms, you're focused on the outcome of a process. And focusing on the outcome of a process never gets you any mileage, because you're simply saying, I have this, and that's it. That's the level of analysis, right? I have this thing. I don't know why I have it, I just have it. And I hate it, and I wish I didn't have it, and it's horrible. Oh, yeah, but it's just a symptom. See, symptoms are meaningless. They have no meaning whatsoever other than what you give them. What we need to do is to focus on the process that creates the symptom. When you do that, you lose a symptom. You stop the process, you lose a symptom. So for instance, if you're anxious or panicky, really any form of anxiety, you're definitely running a threat program. You have to be. If you're not running a threat program, there's no reason why you'd be anxious. Okay, let's identify the threat program and stop it. And if you stop running a threat program, the symptoms of anxiety that get your attention, the dizziness, the dry throat, the tingly feelings, the even numbness and paralysis, all sorts of weird stuff, right? You stop the threat program, the symptoms no longer get created, and now we no longer have a problem. So, the trick to all of this, the trick to making mental health problems much simpler to understand, and much simpler to manage, is to recognize that it feels complex from the inside out, because it just does, okay? But you probably don't have the tools to make it simpler, to understand it in a simpler way. We don't have the language, we're not taught about processes, psychological processes, and so we kind of lack the tools to be able to understand things in that way. But recognize that when we run a process, we get an outcome. That's a symptom. we stop focusing on the symptoms and we start focusing on the process, and lo and behold, the symptoms just go away. And I've said this before, you know, if you've listened to my videos, you'll have heard me say this before. I know that things are going really well and it's time to discharge a client when they say, oh, I forgot to be anxious. I forgot to worry. Oh yeah, I forgot to be depressed this week. I forgot. Yeah, okay. When you forget to have a problem, you don't know. So I hope you find this interesting. Wild psychology. I'm outdoors. It's windy and it's probably a little bit noisy. But you know, it's fresh air and a bit of a change. 3 reasons why mental health problems are complicated to understand.